Hi, my name is Janice Foster, and I'm a league member. I've only been a member of this chapter for about a year and a half, and I moved here from Pickerington by way of Seattle. So it's been an interesting time in my life, and I had initially come to Cleveland Heights when I moved here, but I now live in Mayfield Heights. But I decided I was going to stay with this chapter because I think they're an exceptional group of women, and I really enjoy being a part of the league. So we're thrilled that the four of you were able to make it out 5 this afternoon, and we hope you find the information helpful and worthwhile. You all have a folder, and I'm going to quickly take you through the information that's in your folder so you'll recognize what you can reference later on when you get home. On the left-hand side, you have an overview, a little card that gives an overview of the houses of Congress and in the state for government. The little card is the power of the vote, the resources that are available to help you make informed decisions for voting. Then on the right-hand side of your folder, we've got our agenda for this afternoon, and we're going to be pretty much on point with our time because the reality is the library closes, and we need to be all finished with our business by the time the library closes and people are ready to go home. So the first page is our agenda. The second page is a clever little list of quotes on democracy. When you read the newspaper or newsletter that comes out from our chapter chair every 2 weeks, she'll often have a quote on democracy. And so, yeah, give or take. And so we wanted you to have reminders that we are here to enforce the principles of democracy. Next, we have what's going to be coming up in our chapter over the next few months and starting in 2025. And then we have a feedback form. When we're done with our session today, we'd like each of you to give us some input as to what you felt about our program and any thoughts you have on how things might be improved or how grateful you are that we actually took the time to put this together. And then I need to acknowledge the ladies that collaborated with me in helping us come here this afternoon, and that would be Betsy, Tracy, and you're going to hear more from Betsy in a little while, so I'm not going to give you an extensive overview on Betsy. And then up against the wall, we've got Judy Beeler, our timekeeper and member of the League chapter, and we collaborated for several weeks in order to figure out what would be worthwhile as we viewed it for new members to learn about. And then I want to point out to you something that you haven't seen before, the new members, and that is a new member directory. Not new, but all active members are listed here. So if you want to follow up with someone for any reason, then they should be listed here. So take advantage of that. Before we move on to our chapter chair, I want the new people to take a couple of minutes to introduce themselves to the group. Give your name, where in the area you reside, and then what inspired you to join this chapter? Why did you become a League member? So, just keep it brief, and we'll just go right around the table. So we'll start here.
Hi, my name is Pat Rolfe, and I live in Cleveland Heights. I've been there 5 years, like it very much. And the reason I'm here is that a colleague of mine who is a volunteer at the Herb Society garden, her name is Eve Kochman, introduced me to the League and persuaded me it'd be a good idea to canvass for signatures for the constitutional amendment. So that's why I'm here. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Brenda.
I live in the Fairfax area over in Cleveland Heights for many, many years, and the League has always been on my radar, but as a working mom, wasn't really able to commit until I retired recently. And Kathy Petrie said, "Why don't you join us?" And I said, "Okay." best accomplishments ever. Because somehow I also got talked into, even as a new member, becoming the treasurer. So
Congratulations.
I've jumped right in, and so I welcome everyone as well. I'll be looking for people for the to help prepare the budget for next year. So if you want an opportunity to volunteer.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Burgess Van Aken. I live in University Heights, and I've always been interested in politics, but after this election, I started to get involved at the end of this election, and after this election, I said, I will never be uninvolved again. And I've always known about the League of Women Voters and respected it, so I thought this is the time I'm jumping in.
Hello, my name is Kirsten. I go by KR. I live on Washington in Cleveland Heights, and just really interested to find opportunities to get involved.
Hi, I'm Diane Ruppelt. I live on Traymore, the cut-through street in University Heights. You all know that street. And I worked at Kent State for 12 years and still keep in contact with all of my friends. And it was the League that fought to get the DOJ to supervise the election after that sheriff was telling people to keep track of the people who had Harris signs in their yard. And I decided to join right away so I could sleep at night.
Wow, excellent.
My name is Steve Warner. I live on Superior near Kane Park, and I just want to be a little more involved locally.
Wonderful. Okay. Thanks again to each of you for taking the time to come out this afternoon. And one thing I really want to underscore is in your packet, again, there is a feedback form that we're going to ask you to complete before we're done with our session today, okay? So be thinking about that as we go through our program. So next I will introduce to you our chapter chairperson, Wendy During. And Wendy has been a member of the League since like 1989. So she knows a lot. So she's going to give you an overview of how the League operates and her impetus for joining, and thank you, Wendy.
Janice is another new member who we roped in quickly. And retirees are our number one source of active members, so we celebrate retirement. As she said, I am Wendy During. I am currently the chair of the Cleveland Heights University Heights Chapter, shortened to the Heights Chapter in some cases, of the League of Women Voters of Greater Cleveland. So just a small aside, I joined in 1989 because I had seen the League doing presidential candidate forums, and I was so impressed by the quality of those forums. Unfortunately, that program ended in 1988 when the political parties decided they didn't really want League to be doing these forums because we didn't take we didn't let them dictate the questions and such. So so the political parties took over the control of the debates, but I'm still in the League. One of the things that I wanted to try to make clear, because a lot of people, even longtime members, are not particularly clear on this. We are a tiered organization. We have local chapters, we have state chapters or state organizations, and we have the National League. And we all work together at our different levels. So National League deals with issues that apply nationally, and state does statewide issues such as our very recent effort to change the way districts are drawn. And then local chapters deal with local issues. This is very much a grassroots organization. We are very much driven by the membership on the ground, which is a really wonderful thing. So we make impact. During the Issue 1 campaign for gerrymandering, League was the most impactful because of our on-the-ground efforts. our members going out and talking to people. And so in areas where the league was present, issue 1 passed in rather large numbers. And so that is the power of league. We organize candidate forums, we organize informational events, and we address governments on issues that we see as pertinent. We frequently talk to the state legislature on education issues. We have Susie Kaiser, who's actually a local member, who is very knowledgeable about about education issues. And she is able to address the Ohio legislature as an expert on education. League is known for having experts on specific issues. And I mean, we're not all experts, we all serve in our own way. We have people who work the candidate forums, we have people who moderate candidate forums, we have people who go out and speak, we have people who study legislative efforts. Kathy is very knowledgeable about city council municipal law, city charters. And so when University Heights and Cleveland Heights are having issues where their governance is not in compliance with their city charter, Kathy is the one who says, that's not right, they're out of compliance. And we can then address council members and say, this is in conflict with what is in your charter. So we are very much a grassroots, ground-up organization. Cleveland is a bit unusual as leagues go. We are the League of Women Voters, the Greater Cleveland League of Women Voters. But within the Greater Cleveland League of Women Voters, we have 11 chapters, which serve hyper-local communities. So we serve Cleveland Heights, University Heights. There is a Shaker chapter. There's an East Cleveland chapter. And there are 11 of us. Serving our very specific communities, but we also have an obligation to serve Greater Cleveland because we are the League of Greater Cleveland. And so that is a conflict and a tension within the Greater Cleveland scope, where we are trying to get help out to communities that do not have local chapters, while also being very focused on the issues within our own communities, because that is what we know and see every day. We do have what we call program. Curiously, it's really more our policies or our positions on many different issues. We have policies or program at the local level, at the state level, at the national level. And it is those position statements which determine what we can do and can't do. If we do not have a position on a particular issue, then we cannot act. We may do a study in order to enable us to take action, but studies take a while. We are a very deliberative organization. We are not a quick organization. But once we have a policy, a position statement in place, then we can act on it. You may have received an email from National League that they're beginning a judicial study, and they are looking for league members from around the country to assist in this judicial study. And so that is how we determine what we can take action on. Because of our positions, we are able to do a forum, a local forum on AI and election disinformation. We were able to do candidate forums. Because of the state issues, we were able to work on the gerrymandering issue. And by the way, League of Women Voters of Ohio is now talking to National League to see if National can do something to impact how redistricting is done on a nationwide basis, because the issue is nationwide. And so this is how League operates. It can be complicated, it can be confusing, but we do make a difference, and we welcome every member for whatever way you are able to contribute. There will be a program planning meeting in January where we will review, I believe, statewide, the state policy statements, and also local. And that then leads to the convention, the state convention, which will probably be in May or perhaps June, where we will decide if there are new positions that we need to pursue and what we want the state to focus on for the coming 2 years. So stay tuned for those upcoming invitations. And we have a festive membership gathering in January, so there's that to look forward to. Who's up next? Marianne, the former chapter chair.
Okay, my name is Mary Ann Barnes, and I basically manage the Observer Corp for our chapter. I think what might be useful to know is that the League mission is very simple. It says empowering voters, defending democracy. And the defending democracy, of course, is what we've heard a lot about in the past few months, because it's all about voter registration, getting people out to vote, worrying about voter suppression, making it difficult to vote, all that kind of stuff. The empowering voters is what we do with Observer Corp and also our voter guide and our forums, because we're trying to inform people and try to be knowledgeable about what we're voting on. And to this end, we have observers that observe our 2 city councils and our school board and our library board, and several of them are here in this room tonight. Paula does the school board. Betsy and Judy do the library board. Blanche does city council. And we have a few people that are not here tonight that also I think should be recognized. Jill Tatum also does it for Cleveland Heights City Council, and now we have 3 University Heights reporters or observers, and we did not have any a few years ago, so that was really great. Marilyn Singer, Tanis Swan, and Leah Davidoff are doing it for University Heights. And let's see. So what we have gained from these observer courts, we have now, I think, as a chapter, and certainly for me, who I edit all these reports, we have a much deeper understanding of our local government, how it works, who the people are that are in there, what their challenges are, and then we try to share those with our members. We publish the reports. We do it online, and it's also in the Heights Observer. And then we had these chapter chats, and we had one last week with the city councils, and those are really good to come to, just to learn what's going on, learn from our observers who are sort of on the ground to learn that information. We have this enables us to do targeted, or to do local advocacy on the positions that Wendy was talking about. We also use our observers to help provide targeted questions for the voter guide. You've seen all the very general questions, like what are the 3 most important things, blah, blah, blah. They're very general questions that League puts out. But with our Observer Corps and our deeper understanding of our local government, we're able to target specific issues that we know are important to this community. I think, as I mentioned, we have written forms, written reports. We provide forms for them. I was going to show them, but I think maybe it'll be a little too difficult to see them. But they do provide information. They provide not only a structure for the observer to provide the report, there's also some instructions on there. We try to instruct observers like what is important to observe. To help, it's an aid, I guess you could call it. I think for a long time we didn't use them, but I think our observers, our library observers do not use them, but I think our council and school board observers appreciate them, feel it's made a job easier. These are different than press reports. They're briefer than minutes. They're focused on different things than press reports are. We focus primarily on what voted action actually took place at the meetings, and also we try to be very careful as to what exactly happened in the meeting, as opposed to putting a lot of stuff that did not happen in the meeting. If we do add stuff, we make it very clear that this is an aside. It's not something that happened in the meeting. And then we also try to be neutral. We try to be as neutral as possible when we report these things. Sometimes that's a challenge, but we work on that. We desperately need more observers. Poor Polly, we're down to one, I think, because Rosemary has been pretty much out of. Rosemary Fairman had done it for many years, but I think she's sort of out of commission right now. And so we really could use more, especially for school board, but we could use more for any of these. It lightens the load for the other observers when there are more than one. Basically, what is involved, expertise is not required. You become expert on the job. I think there are a lot of people who have gone to a meeting with our observer, watched them, and they become intimidated because the observer knows a lot. But the observer knows a lot because she's been doing this a long time. and so we I think struggle to get more observers because everybody comes in thinking they have to be an expert before they start. No, you become an expert upon being an observer. And I'll tell you, I think we've been doing this for about 15 years? 20 years. I would say for the first decade, at least, I did not, myself, who I was running it, I don't think I had a full appreciation of what it was really for. What it meant to the chapter, what it meant to our group here as far as understanding government. Because you can read stuff, and yes, the stuff is online. There's the videos, but you actually have to observe them, watch them, read them, and become intimate with what's going on in order to have a true understanding of what our governments are doing. And I think this is a very, very important function for League, is to understand what our governments are doing. And doing it and understanding at the local level is really what chapters are primarily for. Part of the reason that Greater Cleveland has a chapter structure is somewhat of an artifact of Cuyahoga County, which has something like 60 different municipalities and 33 different school districts. Not many other counties, even in Ohio, are organized this way. So this is a way in which we can serve our communities, is to become intimately involved and understanding of our own governing bodies. What's involved is that we've been tracking hours, and we find that on average, it can vary a lot, but on average, it takes about 4 or 5 hours per meeting. That includes watch time and write-up time. Sometimes you have meetings that are much, much shorter, and sometimes you have meetings that are much, much longer. But that's an average. The city councils and the board, the school board, meet twice a month. They sometimes have special meetings, but regularly they meet twice a month. Library meets once a month. The forum, I think, helps the observer. As I mentioned, they already mentioned the forum. And I think I ran to the end of my paper here. So does anyone have any questions about observing?
I just wanted to say to people, at my first meeting, I signed up to be an observer. So it's nothing you need to prepare for or gain for. Your person you're working with will help you with that. And the other thing was, were there some Cleveland observers you were looking for at one time, election board and county commission?
Yes, we have Greater Cleveland has observers that observe the county council, and then right now Greater Cleveland is trying to put together a committee of observers, or a group of observers, to watch the Board of Elections, and that is just getting underway. So if you're interested in that, you could let either I could direct you in the right direction. I think Wendy could as well. But that's at Greater Cleveland level, and we certainly need. But again, we need them locally too. Blanche, you want to say something?
I guess the longest-serving observer in this room. I would urge you to tag along with several of us for the entertainment value alone. I really would. And I don't mean mindless entertainment. This is mindful entertainment. And you will be amazed at what it looks like, how your school board or your city council is operating or not. It doesn't, no cost, no obligation. I'd love to have people come along. I'm sure Joe would, to Cleveland Heights. And of course, the school board is in desperate need of more people to keep their eye on them. The other thing that observing does is let the bodies know that we're watching in a good way. That we are literally, to coin a phrase, in the room where it happens. And this is terrifically important. Anything that's observed changes, hopefully, for the better.
Yeah, we've, oh, sure, yes, please, Holly.
As I said, I do the school board meetings, and when I'm there, I don't always hear what somebody says, get what the name of the person was. So I always watch the video afterwards, and it has closed caption available. So for me, I wear hearing aids, but I don't always catch what some people are saying, especially if their face is turned away from me. So the closed caption availability really makes a big difference for me. The other thing I want to say is that at the school board meetings, frequently members of the school board will make reference to the League of Women Voters and the things that we do that help them. They were very supportive of the redistricting. They mentioned that they questioned what's going to appear in the League of Women Voters report, in the Observer, because sometimes things are said and they say, well, we don't know if this should go, they'll turn to me if it should go in, and for me, you said it, it's going in. So anyway, we are an important presence at the board meetings, and if anybody wants to help out, they can. I've had to learn a lot about the school system because I was a parent of a high school kid for 12 years, but that was 10 years ago, so it's a whole different ballgame now. And it took a long time for me to understand what part was important to the school board and what was important to the school district, but what was important to the League of Women Voters, and they're all different things. So you gotta learn that. Yeah, thanks.
I think that one thing I would note is that, first of all, these the two city councils are somewhat similar, but they still do their business a little bit differently. School board, the way they do their business or what their mission and task is completely different. And so those meetings are structured very differently. Library board's different too. So if you're interested, you might want to accompany one and maybe another as well, because you're going to see a different type of meeting and a different type of governance. I will note that the Cleveland Heights and the school board have very good video capture of their meetings. University Heights is working on improving theirs. They're having streaming problems, but they're working on it. The library board, unfortunately, they just do audio, I think, so it's not quite as helpful. But you can turn to some of these resources if you go to a meeting and you don't catch everything. I'm trying to. Oh yeah, and we do, as I think our observers mentioned, we do publish our reports. They send me the forms, and I think Cassie Tallarico also helps with that with the school board. We turn them into formatted summaries, which are then published both on our website and online at the Heights Observer, and then we do an abbreviated form for the printed Heights Observer. Now, if you've seen them in the printed Heights Observer, it's good to know that those are grossly abbreviated. We have an 800-word limit, and often there is a lot more that goes on than I can put in those things. So you can find them on our website. I think I might try to show it to you if I can pull it up.
While you do that, I just wanted to say, and I'm sure you all agree, but with so many fewer journalists and local reporters tracking
the news. I think it's all the more important that someone be playing at least the observer role, even if they're not digging and doing investigative reporting. It's, we used to have many more people covering all of this than we do now.
She wanted to speak.
Oh, I had a question.
Yeah, let me just show real quick. This is what, and I encourage you to go to the Greater Cleveland website. And to find our chapter page, you can either click on one of these, or you can go up here to where it says chapters, and then it's a drop down. And then this is our chapter page. And then here's the link to our Observer page. Right there.
It's a good website.
And then our reports are all on here. So that's where you can find them.
Those websites are on the back of your directory, by the way. So you know
Oh, good.
to find them.
Yeah. Did you have a question? Oh, would you have the little, where do we have?
I got the little, can I just,
Oh, yes, so go ahead.
being a member of this chapter, could I observe the Board of Elections? Or does?
Absolutely.
Okay, that was my question.
Absolutely. Yeah, as a member of this chapter, you are also a member of the Greater Cleveland League.
This will be the last question.
Oh, sorry. My question was just to
Could you give your name? You weren't here when we.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name's Jennifer. I apologize for a late buyer. Mm-hmm. How does one volunteer to be an observer? How do you start the process?
Just call me.
Okay, call you. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if we have my email address there, but I do have a league email address. It's just mbarnes@lwvgreatercleveland.org. And so you could contact me, and if you know any of the other observers, you feel free to, contact an observer directly and say, I'd like to go to a meeting with you and see what this is like. Yeah, so it's real easy.
I'm going to Cleveland Heights Monday. Want to tag along?
Okay. Who is your next, Betsy?
Hi, I'm Betsy Tracy, and along with Janice Foster, I am co-chair of Voter Services. And you'll learn about, this is one of the things that I'm going to talk about that Voter Services does, and then Blanche will talk about another big thing that we do. But I started out as an observer too, and I think as soon as I signed up, somehow I got connected with, I called Mary Ann. I think I got connected with you, and I'm still doing that. They're all great things to do. But what I'm going to talk about is how we do this. This is publishing a voter guide that comes out for elections. And how many of you have seen or used a voter guide in the past? Okay. And where did you get your copy? Where?
The library.
The library? Okay.
Is there an online version? I thought you
Yep.
got online.
Yep, it's everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this. And what a voter guide provides is information about the offices that are in that election, some information about the candidates, and most importantly, the candidates' responses to written questions. And then we also provide current information on how, when, and where to vote. Because just even the last election, what you could use for your ID had changed a lot, and we needed to get the word out to people about that. And it was actually in 1920, the Cleveland League of Women Voters pioneered, the forerunner of the voter guide. They sent objective questions to candidates running for office. And since then, I think these voter guides are probably the most visible and most popular service to voters across the United States that the League does, and that would be nationally, state, and local. But wait, didn't we just have an election and you didn't see any of this anywhere? That's right, because it is online. In fact, there's always a voter guide because they are online. In recent years, the League of Women Voters of the United States, that's the national level, created a national website called vote411.org. And this provides an online way across the whole country. So that they have software that allows them to contact candidates and to enter candidate information. And then voters anywhere, I did this myself this election, you type in your address and it gives you a personalized ballot and candidate and issue information. So for this last election, there it is. The last election, Vote 411 had candidates about our presidential candidates, our senator candidates, and also a really good statement about issue 1 that I found very helpful to read. But our chapter is responsible for developing and distributing local elections. So we do voter guides for city council and school board, for both University Heights and Cleveland Heights, and also any issues that might come up from those two cities. So a year ago, it was, well, actually in 2023, it was describing to voters what proposed amendments to the University Heights chapter was, because they had just done a charter review. And we cover these, and the next one we'll do will be fall of 2025. They come every other year, and that's the way elections run. It took me a long time to figure this out. But the League of Women Voters of Ohio covers all the statewide issues, and the League of Women Voters of Greater Cleveland, with help from the number of chapters that you just heard about, would handle countywide issues. But the work to produce this, which will be in fall 2025, out before early voting starts, so that's going to be 30 days before the election. And that's when it comes out, but we're going to be starting to work on that soon. In fact, we are starting to work on that. And the first step is you research what the election is going to be and who are the candidates. And then the next step is to create questions for the candidates. And as Marianne described, we rely a lot on the Observer Corp to do that, because they're closest to what's current, what's the issues, and also what the electorate might be interested in. But other league members with expertise can help as well. And most likely there are 3 to 5 questions that are asked of candidates. That works well for the candidates' responses and for our printing purposes. We also take a lot of care to keep bias out of the questions, so they're edited heavily to make them clear and also to avoid bias. Because you have to remember, we want the voters to understand the candidates' thinking on these issues, not our thinking. So that's really important. Candidates' questions then go to the Vote 411 org coordinator, who sees that they're emailed to the candidates, and that happens 60 days before the election to allow time to contact the candidates and for them to respond. And the candidates use a link, and they email their photograph, their biographical information, and their answers to the questions. They have a character limit, and their responses are reviewed, again, by more volunteers to make sure that they're within the limit. But their answers are not edited at all. And in fact, if someone went over the limit, it's sort of just cut off at that limit. We haven't really had to have that happen, though. We also would edit out any salacious material. That has not happened either. I would say that candidates really respect and trust the league. And when we ask them to keep within a limit, I think they really respect that we're asking them, and they do very well in responding to us. A candidate who hasn't responded, the website allows for that, the software program, they're going to get contacted preferably by someone who lives in their community. So the idea is that they're going to get a personal call from their constituent reminding them to please participate in the league questionnaire. And that usually gets people to participate. The Vote 411 technology allows a voter guide to be generated for all the municipalities in this area, in this Cuyahoga County area. But there's still a demand for a printed guide. And our chapter has a collaboration with Future Heights, who publishes the Heights Observer. What they provide a portion of the publication costs, and they also give us the help of an editor and graphic designer. That's not my expertise, right? So content from what the candidates submitted to Vote 411 is uploaded to the Heights Member Center electronically, and then proofreaders review this multiple times before it's sent to the Heights Observer and after we get the proof back from of the PDF. We get a PDF of what they're going to publish. We also make sure that the voting information is up to date, so that we go through and make sure any phone number or website we put in this voter guide is accurate as of the date that we publish it. We also never express a stance on a position. So for example, we wouldn't put a policy issue in this voter guide. If the league had a position, as it did on issue 1, that would be in separate documents. It wouldn't be in these documents. But the voters tend to appreciate our help in enabling them to understand what they're voting on. And there's two ways that we do this. One is we write sometimes plain speak versions of the legislation. Kathy Petrie is good at that. and that's just putting it in simple English. We saw that can be a real problem in understanding what you're voting on. And another thing we do is provide pros and cons from trusted resources or from the ballot language themselves. And that gets in the voter guide. The final step, when we have this printed copy, we have extra copies printed out that are separate from the Heights Observer. It is distributed in the Heights Observer that's closest to the election. We get additional copies that we distribute to libraries, churches, nursing homes, residential living facilities, coffee shops. We're big on coffee shops and other locations so that people can just pick up a copy when they're there. So here's a summary of what I've just said. I know that I'm between you and our snack, so this was purposely kept to this limit. The League of Women Voters, this is the summary. The League of Women Voters gathers nonpartisan information about candidates and ballot issues. Voters can access that information online or through this printed voter guide. And our chapter collaborates with Future Heights to produce this in collaboration with the Heights Observer. How you can help? You can help developing questions. You can help editing questions, contacting late candidates, uploading content, verifying voter information and contacts, editing and proofreading, drafting ballot issue plain speak or pros and cons, editing and proofreading, did I mention that? And distributing the printed voter guides in the community. And the nice thing about all of these tasks, other than physically carrying bunches of voter guides into the library, is that can be done at home. They can be done at home, and so if you're the person that wants to do something at home, this is a very worthwhile thing to do. So many people rely on this voter guide. So for the last voter guide, we kept 12 people busy throughout the time period, and I would welcome all who can help because many hands make light work. Any questions?
Do you have a distribution plan?
Yes, the question is, do we have a distribution guide for distributing the voter guide? We have a plan. I can send you all the places that we send it to. We focus on areas where people would not have access to get it online, and also where they would not be able to pick up the free copy of the Heights Observer that is distributed widely. And so it includes coffee houses, it includes the libraries. It's always in a big pile in the library, and nursing homes,
Senior center,
rec center,
houses of worship.
they're often, and also we also distributed through the school district because it went home with all the kids in their backpacks. Yes.
We also use the Heights Observer distributes the Heights Observer.
Right.
And I wonder if a lot of people miss it because they don't realize they might not realize it's an insert in the Heights Observer. Anywhere you find the Heights Observer, this is always published in the October Heights Observer, you will find you should find the voter guide as an insert.
So I think at this point we're going to take a break.
Our next speaker is Blanche Valancy, and most of you know Blanche. I mean, she's been an integral part of this chapter for many years, and I've learned so much from Blanche, and if you spend time with her, you will also. So I'll turn it over to Blanche now. She'll talk to you further about the Observer Corp.
Actually, about voter education forums.
Oh, well,
that's okay.
I stand corrected.
So as Mary Ann said, one of the things that the League is about is empowering voters, and obviously being educated is being empowered. So that's the rationale right there for what we do. We have 15 minutes to cover forums, and I really want to answer all your questions and pursue your interests, so I have really probably no more than 5 minutes of material to present. So if you hold your questions and then really ask them at the end and tell us what you want to discuss, There are several people here who've done a lot with forums. I'm not the only one. Of the new people, not the old timers, who of you has attended one of our League of Women Voter candidate or issue forums in the last 4 years? Not the old timer. Oh, that's great. Oh, I'm so glad. And that's often where people first. I'm getting to that. She didn't write this, so she doesn't know. The local or hyper-local forums are in the odd-numbered years. I'm sorry, elections are in the odd-numbered years, so of course the forums are in the odd-numbered years. And that's what's coming up, is an odd-numbered year for everybody who has feelings left from the election a couple of weeks ago. Let's channel them, and let's realize that all politics are local. And if we get really good people at local levels, in school boards, in city councils, in whatever else is elected, we're going to change our national picture in the direction that we as a league think it should be changed. How was that? There are a lot of aspects that need to be discussed, decided, planned, and executed to do a candidate forum. And I'll talk about candidate forums and then issue forums, which are just a little bit different. You got to have a budget. You got to have a forum date. Ideally before early voting begins. For example, next year early voting, I believe, begins on Tuesday, October 4th. You have to have a place that's accessible, that is inexpensive or hopefully free, and that is an appropriate jurisdiction to have a forum in. So not your local party club. That would not be okay. It's good to have partnerships. We partner with our library system and with other nonprofit, nonpartisan organizations such as Future Heights, Reaching Heights, and I'm sure you can all think of others, and we should partner with any of them. Let us know. You need a lot of volunteers, but the jobs are time limited and not rocket science. There are tasks in planning, organizing, running the day of the event. There are greeters and ushers and question screeners and of course a moderator, which I'll get to in a minute. You have to promulgate a format, rules, and a schedule, and the candidates or the presenters have to agree to these rules and this schedule. And that's very nitty-gritty, and we don't have to get into that today. Videotaping, thank you, Louis, has been just a godsend because we post our videos, and the community just loves us for that. A lot of people don't get to the forums in person. Sure, they can't get their questions answered, although they can send them in ahead of time if they're really organized, and we will ask them. To illustrate just how important the production of high-quality video recordings are to the communities that we serve, Cleveland Heights and University Heights, we did a little arithmetic a couple of years ago. A very interesting year was 2021, when not much was happening in person. So as of the afternoon of Election Day in 2021, a year when all the forums were online, and we tried mightily to live stream them too, but they were online. The view total for all 5 forums we did that year was 7,716 individual views. That doesn't mean it doesn't count the 5 times I went and checked on them. It does count them as 5. But I just think that's an astounding number, and it points out the value of spending the money on getting them up there and out there, because people really look at them, and we do get donations based on that. People who value that will send us checks. Feel free to do so. Another one of the most important functions in planning a forum is inviting the candidates. You have to secure and reconfirm their commitment to appear. You have to be sure they are all thanked afterwards. And then there's the publicity, and it was mentioned that maybe our publicity isn't always perfect. We do it in print, we do it electronically, we do it through every organization and body we can think of to send it to. We ask you all to print flyers and post them wherever you go, to the grocery, or put them in your house of worship. or other places you frequent. The library is instrumental. The library system is instrumental, as are the cities and the school board, in getting our information out. And we have real good relationships with all of them. Moderator choice is most important. The moderator calibrates the flow of the proceedings and establishes the tone of the event. Sometimes a moderator from a neighboring chapter or community is a good idea, and we have one from another community and one from ours who are our regulars, but we sometimes use others, and boy, would Greater Cleveland love to train you how to moderate. If that's something you're interested in. It's hard, it's fun, and training could be available. For a candidate forum, there must be at least 2 candidates per office. When a single candidate is given the platform, it compromises the League's nonpartisan role and may violate federal, state, and/or local laws about our status. The League of Women Voters of the United States has guidelines, which can be found on the LWVUS website. Those specify that if only one candidate is participating, the situation is referred to an empty chair, and we don't do empty chairs. A forum for a federal race, such as one for U.S. Congress, must not be held under that condition, and we tend to follow those rules locally as well. This is true even if one candidate is running unopposed, or if 2 candidates agree to participate, but only one shows up at the forum. We just have to cancel. If at least 2 candidates appear at a forum for a race that has more than 2 candidates, that's okay. And it needs to be at least more candidates than the number to be elected. So if our city council is this year electing 4 positions, 5 candidates have to be there, or else we don't have a forum. That's hard for a lot of people to understand, but it keeps us clean. I'm sorry, I lost my place. A forum should not be scheduled for an unopposed race. So you may remember that last year, only the incumbents only were running for their own seats on school board, and therefore we did not have a school board forum, because if they and their mother went in and voted for themselves, they were elected. Oh, that's right. They weren't all incumbents. Yeah, that's what it was. I beg your pardon. They actually were non-incumbents. Yeah, we've had times when it was what I said, but I've been in the league since 1976 or thereabouts, so long ago that the records were lost. True story. So I may never get my lifetime membership because we don't really know when I joined. I'm just kidding. So our goal, Betsy's and Janice's, and I'm kind of their aide-de-camp, is to form a forum committee so that the tasks can be shared and no one is stuck contacting and chasing every candidate for every race. No one is stuck doing all the publicity, confirming all the arrangements, and there may be in 2025 5 forums at least for the general election, because both communities have mayoral races as well as council races, and then of course there's school board. There may also be a primary. There also may be 2 primary forums if more than 2 people, if more than one person files to run for mayor in either city. I'm sorry. I think just one. I don't think University Heights has a primary. Oh, they don't, even if they have. I'm not sure. So what's the difference between candidate and issue forms? The most obvious differences are the details regarding the candidates are absent. But all those other instructions about getting a venue, a date, budgeting, publicity, it's all the same. Volunteer staffing is pretty much the same, unless you decide not to have timers, or the panel is so small you don't need someone to sign them in. The differences are mainly in format and selection of participants. While the League of Women Voters nonpartisanship in candidate races is clear and unambiguous, we do take sides on issues often. which can complicate league's presentation of ballot issues. A league group presenting a forum on ballot issues needs to decide beforehand whether the forum is to have a point of view or if both sides are to be represented equally. If there is no league position, the decision is easy. We strive for all sides to be represented as much as possible. So we get people who promoted the ballot initiative or the charter amendments, and then if there's anyone who's opposing them, we put them on the panel as well. Issue forums, of course, will need a moderator, hopefully several panelists to provide broad information and diverse points of view. These panelists can be experts, representatives of campaigns, opposing or not, representatives of relevant governing bodies. So when there were charter amendments up for University Heights last year, we had a bunch of people who were from City Council and from the Charter Review Commission come and explain to the University Heights electorate what they all meant, because they were complicated. If there's more than one issue to be covered in a single forum, we need to be sure that all the issues can be covered by the people on the panel. As in candidate forums, the audience should submit written questions. I neglected to talk about that in the candidate section. And this is the reason, especially if the issue is controversial, but even if it isn't, many audience members would love an opportunity to express their concerns and opinions. But most of the audience wants to hear what the panelists have to say. So questions are written and screened for appropriateness. You really don't want to ask about foreign policy of city council people. We may or may not time, depending on how many issues there are to go through, or if the issue appears to be non-controversial, and timing would unreasonably restrict the ability of the panelists to deliver the information. So that's my formal presentation. What would people like to ask, talk about, or argue with? And as I said before, I'm happy to take anybody along who wants to go to Cleveland Heights City Council just to see what we do in observing, which is a separate thing, but I just wanted to get that out there.
I just wanted to double check. If it's an unopposed race, the candidate would still be in the voter guide.
Oh,
right?
yes. Thank you for mentioning that.
So that the public still has information about this candidate, even though there may not be a forum.
And in our communities, we don't have a lot of candidates who don't answer. They do seem to understand that ignoring the league is something that most real voters don't like. That is not the case everywhere. If you go through the Greater Cleveland voter guide, sometimes there's an awful lot of people who didn't answer.
I was going to add to that is that sometimes for our local candidates, our forums and our voter guides are one of the few places where they really, they don't usually have heavily funded campaigns, and that's one of the few places where they have to be able to present their points of view.
Right. And just sitting here today, I started thinking about questions. Last week, for those of you who were there, the University Heights and Cleveland Heights observers did presentations about the year past, and it occurred to me as I sat here that all the questions are present in those summaries somewhere, except for what will happen between now and summer. Writing questions is loads of fun. I can't believe there aren't any questions or concerns. Anyway, we'd love you to let Betsy and Janice know what you'd like to do if you want to learn how to screen questions, being a greeter or staffing the table where the candidates or panelists sign in requires no training. Running question cards and pencils around requires no training. When I was a theater house manager, I used to say I could train a fourth grader to do this in 10 minutes, and for you it would take 2. please do let us know, because as the time approaches, really starting in August or July, we start working on these things, and so that when the deadline passes for candidates to file and for cities to put the issues on the ballot, we are ready immediately to schedule those forums.
My understanding, Blanche, is that you're also looking for volunteers to help you organize the forums, because that's where a lot of the work is, and that's really very important to our league.
Yeah, so that the person, it doesn't have to be Janice or Betsy who watches the Board of Elections to see whose petitions have been accepted. Any of you can do that, and then immediately there are actually template letters, so you don't even have to create this stuff. It's been made easy. There is, I forgot to bring it up with me, that white folder, that white notebook is a toolkit that Mary Ann, with a lot of other, you don't have to give it to me, with a lot of other people's input, created in 2019, and I mean all this stuff is in here. And then in our chapter, we've made addendums that contain the accumulated experience of having done them. It's all here, all the letters, all the timetables, all the principles, and it's available on our website.
Yes, it's available on the website.
Yeah,
Under resources, publications.
Yeah, it's called the Voter Education Toolkit, a handbook for organizing candidate forums and creating a voter guide.
Wow. Hi, I'm Carol Spacky. I have been an active league member since I retired in 2018, and I saw Mary Ann Barnes at a wedding and told her I would like to get active, and they put me on the leadership team. So, be careful.
I'll hang on.
I work with voter registration. It is one of the core things that the league does, and it's very important that when you're out with the public, you are nonpartisan, and that, of course, we don't support any particular political parties. So I just jotted down some of the events we attended since 2024. Cuyahoga County Library's Mayfield branch and South Euclid branch. We were at Kane Park Arts Festival, Shaker Square Market, Wadeoba Wednesdays, the Wald, Cumberland Pool Swim Show, Back to School Resource and Wellness Back to School Resource and Wellness Fair, which was very successful. Amy and I were there, and it's because there was a long line for people waiting to go in, and it was great to be able to talk to people as they were waiting. Monticello 6th grade schedule pickup, Fairfax Rec Center in Cleveland, the Feminist Festival, Grog Shop, Cleveland Heights, University Heights High School, the UH Fall Fest, Cedarly Theater, in Cleveland City Hall voter registration event, naturalization ceremonies, the Cedar Fairmount Festival, Seven Hills Farmers Market, and so we welcome new locations and suggestions, and you don't have to contact me. You can go out and just let me know so we can document it. We're not just registering voters, but answering questions, and also the Ohio League of Women Voters says it's very important that we have a face out there in the public so that they know we were there. And sometimes people want to talk to you about candidates, but you don't say anything, and sometimes you just sort of divert them if you can. We can, after registering voters was closed, then in October we went out just to do Fair Districts information. So training is really important, and I remember when I first started this thinking, you know, there's the form, you fill it out, you know. But it is vitally important that you are trained. The League of Women Voters Ohio creates a video with any updated information about any kind of issues or rules that have been changed, and as someone mentioned before, some had been changed. And it is on the League of Women Voters Greater Cleveland website. And I would encourage you to not just go on the website, but also to make sure you get a login, because there's more information available to you if you're logged in as a member. And so that I would encourage you to do. Also on the website is a list of voter registration opportunities. The ones I listed are mostly the ones that I organized, but on the website are opportunities across Cleveland. So, and that really is a good place to be, because so many people in Cleveland Heights and University Heights are already registered. It's fun to go out and talk to people, and you're surprised sometimes at what they do and don't know about registering. You know, you want to update addresses, and I would also encourage you to go on to voteohio.gov, which is the Secretary of State's website. I've learned a lot going on there. You can, just even with a vote by mail application, you can, it will show you on there when it's been received. It'll show you on there when they mailed it to you, and it will show you on there once you've sent it in that it's been received. And there are other things on there that are really good, and that's a very good thing to show people when you're out talking to the public, to show them Vote 411 website, to show them voteohio.gov. One of the handouts is in your folder, and I like to take a pen and circle things on there, because there's so much information on those guides. For me personally, when you're handed something like that, you know, it's a bit overwhelming, but often I would circle the voteohio.gov website, or if I was trying to encourage them to go on the Vote 411 website. So that was just one of the things that I found helpful. Anyone can register voters, and that is great, but our league trains people well, and I know that there have been organizations that have trained people but not well, and so when they're turned into the Board of Elections, if there are problems, then they can't be processed. Amy Vey is also a very active person doing voter registration. Is there anything you wanted to add?
You know, I was just going to say that, and maybe it was last year just with the presidential election coming up, but I always kept the voter registration forms and a League of Women Voters pin in my car, so that if I had time and I saw a good opportunity where people were just stationary, and as we found, if they're waiting in line for something, it's a fabulous opportunity to get people registered, or check with them, or just initiate conversations. They'll often say they're registered to vote, and we can just then point them to the resources to find this information. But yeah, the pop-ups were a lot of fun, and I do, as Carol said, encourage you to look at the training for it, because it does seem simple. They're just filling out a form. Well, they will have questions. And we always have questions. Well, if I'm from another state, am I registering, or am I changing my address? And so just a lot of little things can help you out with that. But it's fun, and it gets conversations going. And I also found is with the League of Women Voters, if I start with that, I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, it kind of diffuses anything. They don't think, they're being attacked for something partisan. So I always start with that line.
When you do it, because I haven't done it, I did it years ago in Chicago, but for a different organization. Do we give them anything to take with them to follow up on it, like their additional information and/or why it's important to vote, like how it impacts things, or is that something we would consider starting to do because translating that registration into an actual person, an informed, knowledgeable voter?
Well, that
seems
important. Directing them to the Vote 411 guide.
So do you hand them, do they go, walk away from you with something?
It is on the, if you pull in the little card.
Yeah, plus the cards that you got in your, we usually have a stack of those,
They get
or
that?
bookmarks for Vote 411. There is not an official, here's proof that you registered on this date kind of a card. I think some states do have it. But yeah, you'd always try to have those, right?
Carol, I think it would be interesting to tell people about the process of getting, you keep the copy of the registration form, and that there are deadlines for submitting that to the Board of Elections. And there may even be some discomfort on the part of some people of giving it to you as opposed to taking care of it themselves. But anyway, would you explain how you deal with that?
Well, on the website, with the training, it says that after you have registered a voter, the first thing you say is, "May I contact you to remind you to vote?" And that is important because basically what it is doing is saying that you can keep their information. So I don't want to go into that anymore. But once you've collected forms, you take them down to the Board of Elections, and it needs to be done within 10 days. The materials I have there, the form is in there, or you can get one when you go down to the board. You can put them into the Dropbox. I have done that because I have the form all filled out. And I guess that's it. You just take them down to the Board of Elections.
One more question.
Final question.
Okay, so people who do voter services, if they're involved in a campaign for a particular candidate or involved in a particular party, are they not supposed to do voter services? Okay.
Correct, they're not.
Not for the league.
Not for the league.
Yeah, they could
Yeah.
do it for the.
Right, okay, yeah.
They could do
I
it like
thought
the
that was the
Democratic Party often. Sometimes the Dems or the
Yeah.
Republican Party, they'll have their own workers. But if you're actually affiliated with a campaign, you should not be doing it with the league. Oh.
Really quickly.
Real quick.
There are several people who are members of the league who are also precinct leaders for one party or another. And but I have the impression that they are still active within the league on doing registration, and working in voter services. I know for sure that there are people who are precinct leaders who do registration. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to end it here because of, again, our time constraints, but thanks to all of the speakers, you were really very helpful and enlightening, but recognizing we can't tell you everything at once. There's just too much information. We have too much history. So what we're going to be doing very soon, with the help of Mary Ann Barnes, who is also our website manager, we're going to impose, or in place, I should say, on our website, a tab called I've Got a Question. And if you've got a question about anything, you can simply email it in, and then one of us will take a look at the question and determine who has the best answer, who's the best suited to respond to that question, and get back to you. So that way you're not flailing and operating in a fog because you don't understand something. So we're going to see how that goes for the members, and hopefully people will approve and appreciate it. So before we,
That will go on
our chapter website, don't go looking for it on the national website.
Well, not national, no, I mean,
But it's-
the Greater Cleveland, the homepage will not have the question, but if you go to our chapter page, that's where you'll find it.
Right, this is for Cleveland University Heights chapter.
But are we going to meet again, before the summer? Or are we just responsible to,
Oh, we'll have chapter meetings, and you should be getting notices.
okay. So we're not just responsible for contacting the people who've spoken to ask them, we'll have an update. We'll have opportunity for an update. See, thank you.
Now, this is where we want to hear from you. Please take out your form. It should be next to the last item in your packet. And simply give us some feedback as to how you responded to what you were presented with today. Now, at the bottom of the page, your name is optional. It's up to you if you want to include your name, unless, if in fact you say, number 8, I am interested in participating in chapter activities, and you say yes, well, we need to know who you are so we can follow up with you and find out more specifically what it is you would like to do, and then we can try to get you connected accordingly, okay? Make sense? Any questions? And when you're done, simply leave your completed form at the back table, and we'll pick them up, and you'll get the results when Mrs. During does her next newsletter for the chapter, all right? Oh, and if you didn't get a membership button, you'll be official now, so please take a button when you go as well. Okay. Well done. Thank you.